Thank you for joining me for this episode of Next Bite of Life podcast. My name is Kem Kem. I'm your host. Today we're talking with Clyde and Terry. Hello.
Hello, this is Clyde.
Hello, this is Terry.
And can you tell us a little bit about yourself, like what your website is? So let's get that out of the way.
Yeah, we got to talk about our website. The first website is alongthegringotrail.blogspot.com, and this is Terry's blog about our life house sitting. And she's been doing it, she has been doing her blog for 6 years, starting with the first 5 years when we lived in Panama.
Oh.
And then now that we're house sitting, we've been at it for over a year. Her blog is about house sitting and our adventures is really what it's about.
And you have a second website?
Yes, and the second website is Travel the World House Sitting. And we created this website to help people that might want to do a house sit or get a house sitter. Doesn't really talk about the adventures we've been on, but just teach you how to get a house sit, where to go, and how to do things.
Okay, so you've been traveling for a year full time?
Yes, a year.
How do you like it so far?
Incredible year. We did a month in Thailand, 3 months in Italy, and then we came into the UK.
We spent 5.5 months in the UK, covered England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, and Northern Ireland.
Yes. And, did we mention Italy?
Yes, you mentioned
Okay,
Italy.
so now we're back in Spain.
Fantastic.
We're hoping to be here 3 months in total.
Wow.
Yes.
So what was your motivation for chucking it all in and leaving the U.S. and moving around?
The motivation to leave the United States is we retired, but we did not have enough money to live without keeping on working somewhere. And we did our research and found out Panama was a really cheap place to retire. I say cheap, it was a reasonable place to retire.
Compared to the U.S.?
Yes, compared to the United States. And so we left and lived in Panama for 5 years, and it was fascinating, and Panama was very good to us. But then we discovered Europe.
Before we get to Europe, how easy was it to settle in Panama, and what kind of visa did you have?
Okay. We got what's called a pensionado visa, and it was not easy. It cost us money, but we believe if you're going to go to a country to live, you must do things legally. And so we got the pensionado visa, which I had to prove that I had a pension, did a criminal background check, and things like this. A couple of small things I won't even talk about. But with this pensionado visa, we were able to get discounts in very many different places in Panama, just like the pensioners there. Mm-hmm. For instance, we got 25% off airline flights, 25% off large meals. Fast food was only 10%. 10% off doctors, prescriptions. So the benefits of Panama were great.
Wow, so it's like being a senior citizen discount.
Yeah, we're not even senior
without
citizens.
being senior citizens. That's fantastic.
We are very young, by the way.
And they look very young.
Yeah.
You can't see them, but we'll have pictures on the website nextbiteoflife.com that will show you. We'll show everybody what you look like, so they'll see that you're not senior citizens.
I was 57 when we retired. I won't mention Terry. Well,
I was 51.
And Terry was 51. Now I'm 62, and Terry is 56.
You see, so this
and
lifestyle,
we're retired.
Exactly. This lifestyle is
Yes.
Anybody, pretty much everybody who wants to do it can do it. Basically, it's not easy. It's hard work.
Right.
I mean, you had to get a pension.
Yes.
You had to work. How many years?
Yeah, I'm a retired firefighter paramedic for 27 years in Corpus Christi, Texas, with a pension. And I know in the United States, pensions are a thing of the past, so I'm lucky enough to have a pension. It's a small pension, but it allows us to keep living without working, as long as we leave the United States.
Okay. So you paid your dues.
Yes.
And that's the one thing I find with a lot of people,
Right.
especially young people nowadays. They basically want to travel the world, but they have an aversion to working. It seems like, it's like work is like a dirty word. Oh my God. It's the sharing community and everybody must live for free and, kumbaya and all that kind of stuff. But it doesn't work like that. You got to work and pay your dues.
We did pay our dues, and the pension drove me to stay in the same job for 27 years. I was in that fire department doing the same job for 27 years.
Fantastic.
And although I loved my job, it left me scarred physically and emotionally. You can't do a job like that without being scarred.
But now you're enjoying the fruits of your labor,
Yes,
so
we
to
are.
speak. So you were in Panama for 5 years, and I know you were settled in. And what prompted the new, I guess, excitement about moving someplace else?
Well, it all started with my crazy wife insisting we take a Mediterranean cruise.
Good for you.
Yes. And it cost a lot of money. And we saw a lot of Europe, and it was incredible. And we both had this thirst, and we wanted to come back, but we couldn't afford to do it. There's just no way on my pension. And we went back to Panama. We're talking to friends, and one of my best friends there says, well, how about house sitting? And we'd never even thought about house sitting. When we were in Panama, we did 3 house sits. We did a month in Mexico, a month in Costa Rica, and then a month in Ecuador.
All lovely places.
Lovely places. We were floored that we were in a different country, not paying for a hotel. And yes, we had work to do. We'd have to walk the dogs and take care of the dogs, but usually we could leave during the day and explore the area to be back in the evening and walk the dogs again. So we realized we could do this, and that's when we got brave enough and said, you know what, we're selling everything. And we walked out of our house with 2 carry-on bags and a backpack apiece.
Wow.
And
Were you scared?
Oh, yes.
Terrified.
Terrified.
I can just understand. It has to be like, okay, you're leaving everything you know. I mean, you did it once, going from
right.
Texas to Panama, but at least as a 2-hour flight, if you goofed up, you could easily
Yeah.
go back. But this time you were going to the other side of the world. And so I can imagine how scary that was.
Well, as I was telling you before, if someone wants to do something like this, they have to be a positive thinker. You can't think negatively and expect things to happen. You've got to think positive, that things are going to be okay, things are going to work out. Yes, you take precautions and you plan, but you know in your heart that everything's going to be great. I mean, that's our whole life, is everything turns out somehow. We all survive.
Yeah.
So
So your first sit, where was that in Europe? Where was the first sit, if you remember?
Well, our first sit
Italy.
in Italy, yes. We came to Italy first.
Nice.
No,
Great way to start.
Italy was Thailand.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, Thailand. Okay.
So ask the question again.
I'm
Okay.
sorry.
No, it's okay. So you were in Europe. You were in Thailand before you got to
Yes,
Europe.
we
So
did
your
a month in Thailand, and actually what happened is we flew into Thailand and met the homeowners because we were going to leave our bags with them for a few weeks, go explore Thailand, and then come back and take care of their cat while they went on vacation. So we were exploring Thailand. We got an email from them saying, I'm sorry, but we've had to cancel the house sit. But really good people, and she says, I know you've come all the way to Thailand. Don't worry, I will pay for your hotel accommodations for the next 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yes. We didn't take advantage. We found a nice, cheap little place. I think we paid $35 a night for a nice place. And we were able to travel to Cambodia and Hong Kong.
Amazing.
And that was wonderful.
So that was a really nice way to get
Yeah.
a taste of house sitting.
It was.
Left you wanting
And,
more.
you know, right away we had to pull money out of savings, but we were pulling small amounts out of savings
Which makes a huge difference.
because we pay no rent, we pay no electric bills, we pay nothing like that anymore.
So you can afford to splurge just a little
Yes,
bit.
we
Yeah.
can splurge a little, yes. So anyway, after Thailand, we came into Italy, and we proceeded to do 6 house sits in Italy, and really got to visit the whole country. Funny story, I didn't think I was going to need a car when I did this, but we realized quickly if we wanted to see anything, we had to rent a car.
Yeah.
And I rented a car in Italy, and when I turned it in, I had put in 6,000 miles.
Wow.
Because we fell in love with Italy, and we were so excited. And we not only saw all the big, famous touristy cities, but we would drive down the road and spot a hill town up on the hill and go explore the castle that is normally there and the cathedrals. Because we love architecture. That's one of the big things. We love to just walk through cities and look at the big stuff.
Fantastic. So house sitting has really opened you up to not only finding things you love, but actually supplementing, a whole bunch of expenses that would have come out of pocket,
Exactly. And I got to stop now, and we're talking about money and the exciting places we've been, but house sitting has opened up our eyes to animals even more. We've loved animals to begin with, and it's really funny how quickly we develop relationships with our new friends that we meet along the way. They all have such different, wonderful personalities. And another thing is meeting different breeds of dogs that we've never known.
I can just imagine.
And we really fall in love with these dogs.
I can imagine it's hard to leave them when it's time to go.
Yeah, it is. And, yeah.
Wow. So now that you've been traveling all over Europe for a year, have you come to the point where you say, okay, I want to go back to Panama, I want to go back to the U.S., or are you saying, no, I really like this lifestyle and I want to keep doing it?
We really like this lifestyle and we're going to keep doing it. We know that there will come a time we know that there will come a time when we need to settle back down. We don't know when, we don't know where, but right now, house sitting is, wow, it is great. It's been really good to us.
That's great. So how many days, if you can remember, or even just roughly, how many days how many months maybe out of the year have you house sat or pet sat?
Well, and that's the great thing because, first of all, Terry she gets all the house sits.
Okay.
That's her job. I try to organize things after the fact, but she normally gets the house sits. And by thinking positively and her working so hard, we're getting back-to-back house sits.
That's fantastic.
So for the past year, and I'm guessing now because I don't keep records, we've spent less than 30 days in hotels.
Wow.
And some of those hotel visits are when we're exploring from the house sit.
Okay.
We get a few days in between house sits. And we usually stay in really simple hotels. We're not extravagant like that.
Yeah.
So
if we're talking dollar, I don't need an exact amount of money. I'm just trying to think if somebody was thinking about house sitting, would they say, I need to have a budget to start with? Would you say something like $1,000 a month, $2,000 a month, $3,000 a month?
Well, we're a couple. First of all, there's two of us. We don't eat out much. We normally rent a car when we're house sitting so we can see things. We do have a travel medical insurance, which I'll tell you about in a minute because I just had to use it.
Good.
We explore a lot, so our budget is rather high. It's probably over $2,500 a month.
Okay.
If one was wanting to do this and they don't explore and they don't get a car, yes, they could do it quite a bit cheaper.
Okay.
But, I've got to be honest, we are spending that much money.
But it's also part of, enjoying life. And
yes.
Because if you were to add hotels or renting an apartment to it, you're talking $5,000, $6,000.
Oh, yeah.
Now, for somebody who was working, let's say, at a middle income job in the U.S., and they're now retired, they get that much in pension, they could afford to do it.
Yes.
So this is your audience.
Yeah.
And, even younger kids that do it, if you're a backpacker, you could also do the same thing.
Yeah.
But, of course, your expectations should be a lot less because you're younger and
Yeah, it might be harder to get the sits.
True.
But I do feel there's two audiences. One is the audience that wants to do this full-time like we are. But the other audience is just to be able to take one vacation at a much reduced rate.
Very true.
Like we did when we went to Mexico, Costa Rica, and Ecuador. So if you're willing to get on the sites and look around and say, hey, here's a house sit for 3 weeks in Mexico, because that's kind of close to the United States, and work around it.
Exactly. And get your feet wet.
Get your feet wet.
Exactly.
Yes. And Mexico, by the way, is beautiful. We're from South Texas, where the border towns are dangerous, and you just simply don't go to them anymore.
Yeah.
But way down in Mexico, we were in Ajijic, the second best weather in the world.
Wow.
And it was an incredible place.
So, I'm starting to think maybe I need to get rid of my dogs. Okay, that's fantastic that somebody, can do what you're doing and have fun doing it
Yes.
and meeting a lot of people along the way. And now with the blog, that people should check out Travel the World, housesitting.com.
Yes.
And along the gringotrail.blogspot.com.
Yes.
These are the two sites they need to check out with information on house sitting and how to get started, what to, little tips. And I know we were talking just before this, and you were saying that it's something you actually love. You love the pets that you're sitting,
Oh, yes.
and it's something that you need to consider. It's not just a lifestyle like, oh, I want to travel the world and I'll do it by house sitting. You have to love pets, and you have to.
Well, it's like taking a job in a vet's office if you don't like animals. You're not going to be happy. You've got to like animals.
Good.
And I'm not saying you fall in love with every animal you come across.
Exactly.
Some are aloof, and lots of times when the homeowner leaves the house, the dog's in a depression for a few days
Yes,
because
exactly.
his mama's gone.
It's true.
But most of the time we win them over pretty quick because they can see through us.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so you get to meet and love this animals, sit with them for a while, and then move on to the next place. And in between, if you have to, then you rent hotels and just to make sure between seats if you don't have them back to back.
And one of the things we've learned is if we have 2 or 3 days, is go for the gusto and do something instead of just staying in a little hotel close to where we were. Next week, after this house sit, we're driving up to Pamplona for the running of the bulls.
Oh, wow. Are you going to run with the wolves?
Oh, hell no. We are going to be safely up on a balcony.
Watch people running with the bulls. Like, let the idiots do it down there. And
it's a pretty big expense because when you take a small town with something this popular, that it's hard to get in. But what the heck?
It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience.
Yes.
You're here. You're in this part of the world. You might as well do it. Right?
And I didn't pay for a hotel for the previous 6 weeks.
Perfect. That's
the
true.
one thing I do tell people, they need to get some sort of health insurance when they travel.
Good. I know you have a great story about
very
that.
Important. And the story that just happened to us 3 weeks ago is I had an episode and ended up getting a pacemaker installed here in Spain.
Wow.
And thank goodness I had health insurance.
I know.
And number 2, thank goodness we were in Spain because they have excellent medical care here.
Yay!
Yes.
Yay for Spain!
And,
everybody come to Spain. No.
Yes. The medical care was incredible. And we as Americans always think we have the best of everything. But, guys, it's not true.
I second that. It's true because, my brother had serious medical problems with his stomach, and he was near death basically. And of course he was in the U.S. before moving back to Africa, and he had no insurance, so there was no way he was getting treated, and they kept passing him from place to place.
Oh my.
And we traveled to India, holed up in a hotel for 3 weeks, and he was actually there for 4 months while he had like the 2 surgeries. And it was just, okay, you go in to see the doctor. Within a few days, they scheduled the surgery. He was in there for the hospital for 2 weeks, and all for like it's been over a year, but it was like 1/17th how much it would cost in the U.S.
Wow.
Insane. Private room, excellent care. The hospital was like, it felt like you were walking to the hospital of movie stars or something. It was just incredible. Even with the flight and everything put in there. Yeah. So no, I agree with you. I don't think.
And we're not naive enough to believe that when we get into some of these countries, like we've been to visit Cambodia and Thailand, and maybe that medical care is not that great, but the medical care here in Spain is just wonderful.
Yeah, they think it's third world country, as far as medical stuff, and America is number 1, but no, it's really excellent.
And even Panama. Had great medical care.
Because I know a lot of pensioners, that's why they had the pensionado.
And Terry had surgery there. She had a hysterectomy there. And
$4,500.
it was $4,500 for a hysterectomy. And that was 3 or 4 days in the hospital.
Which is more like a deductible in America.
It is. And what was funny is, the doctor told her to stay in bed, and she wasn't allowed to walk around, and then you're going to be here 3 more days. And she goes, wow, in the United States, it'd have me up and walking so I could walk to the car in the morning.
Yeah. It's like,
get out of the hospital.
Here, yeah.
Where the insurance companies tell the doctors how long people can be in the hospital. We won't talk about this anymore.
No, but it's great that you were taken care of. So even while you have this nomadic lifestyle, it's still you still have some semblance of real life and real everyday life.
Oh, yes.
You had a medical problem, you had it taken care of, and you can have your checkups different places.
Yes.
It's set up like that. So it's wonderful. Why wouldn't you do this? Why wouldn't you have the nerve to do this if this is what you've dreamt about all along? And you guys are here showing people that it can be done. There are other people that we've interviewed before that have been doing the same thing. And I know people are scared to live their lives, and but if it's so bad and you're spending, by the time we left the U.S., we calculated we were spending almost $6,000 a month.
Easy.
And it's like you're in a hamster wheel. You're just constantly getting money and paying it out and getting money and paying it out, and you never save anything. And all for what? You don't really see, the 30-year mortgage. Yeah, I'll own this house free and clear in 30 years. What if you don't even live that long?
Right. Well, and this pacemaker episode was a real eye-opener for both of us. And I think we were both thinking the same thing, that, Jesus, this might be the end of our house sitting. But we just got a year of seeing Europe. And when we went to the UK, we did England, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, North Ireland.
House sits.
All on house sits. And we saw so much.
Yeah.
We still can't believe it.
So it makes you appreciate life. It tells you that, life is beautiful, and you can actually enjoy all these things, and you can do it in an economical way.
Yes.
I mean, what else do you want out of life, really?
Right.
And staying in houses that we could never afford to own ourselves.
I was going to ask you that.
$2 million houses and
Insane.
Yes, we've stayed in beautiful, wonderful houses. We've stayed in some dumps, but for the most part, the people that are traveling have money, so they have decent houses.
It's true.
And we're staying in a very nice 5-bedroom, 3-bath home with a pool right now.
Wow.
Us and a dog, 2 cats, and a turtle.
Imagine that. In the U.S., you'd pay, $2,000 and have a 1-bedroom if you're lucky, and
Yes.
there's certainly
crazy.
no pool.
It's crazy.
Wow, that's great. So now, okay, you go, you travel, you have it all, for the most part, funded through house sitting, and you do the rest by staying in hotels and
Cheap hotels.
cheap. What about food? And you said you like to cook in a lot.
And that's another thing. We don't eat out a lot.
Neither do we.
No matter where you're at, it's so much easier.
And cheaper.
It's cheaper to eat at home.
Yeah, and it tastes better too for the most part.
And that's the other caveat I didn't think about. When you're on holiday and you go to Europe and you're in a hotel room for 2 or 3 weeks, you have no kitchen.
Yeah.
We always have a kitchen.
Yep.
So we're always able to cook our meals. So
And it's
that's
sort of
another
like
way.
having an Airbnb without even having to pay for it.
Yes.
No, the
Exactly.
kitchen is really very important.
Yes.
A lot of times when we travel too, we try to stay at Airbnb because we want to have the kitchen. I mean, Federico cooks, and so he likes to cook. So it's nice to have that and not have to, because you can't go out for less than even a lunch or breakfast. You're talking 20 euros, 30 euros.
Yeah.
It adds up.
Yes, it does.
So
It's crazy.
you might as well be living back in America by the time you add that up,
Yeah.
if you're going to live that kind of lifestyle. But if you want to live, a good lifestyle, live in beautiful places, have wonderful sites, and you guys love architecture. I mean, where else are you going to go
I
that
know.
has more beautiful architecture than Europe? So,
Yeah.
you're doing this, and you would like to stay around Europe, from what I understand.
Well, and what's crazy when you talk about what we're seeing, and Americans just don't understand this. We'll go somewhere, and they start talking about how old it is, and we're touching things that were built before Christ was born. You don't get that in the United States.
I know. I remember one time Federico's mom was visiting us in Houston, and there was a hospital that was there for like It was built in 88 or something, and they came in 08, and they were tearing it down to put it. And she's like, what? They're tearing this down? In Rome. It would take us 600 years to build it, but it would stay for like 7,000 years. She couldn't believe it. And it's like, yeah, you're right. You're staying in places, you're touching things that have been built like, and it's just amazing. It's just rich, There's no
Well, and that is something about us personally, that we do spend a little extra money, and if, like when we were in the London area, we had to do all the London stuff. We had to see, the changing of the guards and the Queen's Mews, which is where the horses are kept, and the royal carriages. So we do take advantage of this.
Yes.
It'd be very easy to do this and not do anything fun. So,
but then you've just been places that you haven't seen anything, It's like those are just what you do when you're, doing the stamp, like the people that run around saying, I've been to 97 countries, and then how long were you there? Oh, 12 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, 5 hours.
But I want to back up.
Okay.
When we're talking to the homeowners for the sit, we discuss expectations from both sides. And one of those discussions is, can we leave the dog or cats, whatever the pets are, how long?
Yep.
And we come to an agreement before we get there. So we know if we're going to Italy, yes, we can sightsee.
Yeah.
There are some house sit ads out there that say, if you're coming here to sightsee, don't come. I want you in my house 24 hours a day.
Then okay, that's not for me.
That's not for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, we do have a house sit coming up that's a 8-month-old puppy, who we've already met, by the way. The woman was kind of nervous, so we went and introduced ourselves to her puppy. And we do know we won't be leaving him very much. Yeah. So that's going to be a week of kind of kicking back and staying around the house.
Well,
but there was communication. Yes, we do need to.
Exactly.
But there was communication.
And again, it's a big, beautiful Spanish villa with a pool. So
Yeah.
we will enjoy it.
He could be worse, right?
It could be worse.
If you're going to be stuck for a week, you want to be stuck in summer with a place with a pool, and a nice villa.
But like I was telling you before, communication and honesty are so important with a house sitting.
Yes.
Because it just benefits you to be honest.
Yeah.
It is a gamble. Yeah. It's a gamble on both sides.
Definitely.
That everything's going to work out perfectly. And for the most part, it has for us. We've had a few iffy experiences, and we've learned from them and realized we need to communicate more with the people before we take the house sits. We email back each other we've emailed back and forth with each other many times, and we always have a Skype interview or a FaceTime or a Facebook interview, so we can actually see each other. They usually show us the house on the
I know,
the
thanks
cam.
to technology now, you can do so many things that you couldn't do before,
Without technology, we could not be house sitting.
For sure. The internet is great and it's bad.
But, and that's another thing. Terry has us scheduled all the way. We've got a Christmas sit coming up in Portugal.
Wow, nice.
But there are spaces in between now and then that we still have to fill in. But with the internet, we can do it. And with positive thinking, we can do it. Yeah. Because we know the sits will come up.
And if it doesn't, there's always a spare room there.
Yeah. We've written that down.
Good. Yeah, you're welcome here anytime. I know you like Valencia already.
Oh, yes, we love Valencia.
Many of the homeowners have been great about inviting us back and saying the same thing. If you're in between sits, you can come back here. We'd love to see you again. So we're making friends all over the world.
And that's very important. I've met so many people, so many more people since I started blogging and, writing than I did when I was in the U.S. And it just opens up a whole new world. And you just meet so many people that you would never have met. I mean, you guys were from Corpus Christi,
right?
And we lived in Houston, and it's like a small world. But we come and meet in Spain.
You didn't mention how we met.
Oh yeah, we met two friends who were actually house sitting for us. Yes. So there you go. So it's a small world.
I think you commented on a blog, and then we caught you, and we got together and everything. Yeah, that was crazy.
So this is how life works. So,
but going back to the homeowners, normally we go the day before, and we spend time with a homeowner at least one day, and maybe we are there an extra day afterwards.
And that's important.
So that is when, So that is when we get to know the homeowners and they get to know us, and that's where we've developed friendships.
That's great. Do you guys ever get like nostalgic, I guess would be the word for the U.S., and think, we need to go back?
We miss our kids.
Of course.
We've got a grandbaby.
Yeah. Aww.
At least 10.
Yeah,
He's not a baby.
Yeah. But I don't know, we're just living such a nomad life now. It's not that it's the United States. We're just, life is exciting now, moving from place to place to place.
Yeah.
And when we get a longhouse sit for a month, it's boring.
Yeah.
We're ready to go to the next place
go.
and see the next stuff.
Yeah.
With the internet, we can keep in touch with our kids.
Exactly.
They see us
Skype.
on Facebook and know where we are.
It's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
It's
So I'm not going to say we don't miss the States because it's not any good. Of course, we have hundreds of wonderful friends and hundreds of memories. But the life we're living now is just, it's unbelievable.
What would be, wrapping this up,
Yeah.
what would be your advice to somebody who's saying, you know what, I think I like what Clyde and Terry are doing. I want to do the same thing. First of all, they need to check out the website at alongthevineyardtrail.blogspot.com and traveltheworldhousesitting.com.
Yeah.
They should they should definitely check that out, get some tips and everything. But do you have any advice for somebody who wants to do this and who's maybe thinking,
Well, you do have to have instruction, and that's what the Travel the World House Sitting is good about, is taking you by the hand and telling you which websites to go up to, how to set up a profile, and what to put on that profile to get yourself called. Because there is competition out there.
Exactly. Everybody wants to do this, but
And my wife is very good at that. She's a very flowerful, colorful writer. And like I said, honesty and communication on the house sits. Don't be afraid. Gosh, we're going to Egypt next month. I never thought I'd be going to a place like that. And the more the people we talk to, they say, it's okay. You're going to be fine. As Americans, we're kind of afraid of the rest of the world because we've never been.
Because we only see one point of view, I guess, as far as the news goes. And when you step outside of your comfort zone, you start to realize the world is not as scary as you're made to believe. I'll actually point you to a couple of bloggers who just got back from Egypt not too long ago.
Good.
So,
Good.
Yeah, it's not as bad as they say. So that's good.
But you do have to jump. It's a huge jump in faith, and it's scary as hell. But like most jumps, once you get there, it's well worth the jump. And we've taken various jumps in our life. Just leaving the United States, going to Panama was a huge jump.
Exactly.
We'd never left the States before we did this.
Wow. You see? So you've got to get out of your comfort zone.
You've got to get out of your comfort zone.
If you dream about it, you can make it happen.
Yes.
And you guys, I know you said before when you decided to do this, it's like, okay, we need to get the bills paid, we need to do this, we need to sell the house.
Yeah.
So you have all your ducks in a row.
Right.
And then when you're ready to do it, you do it.
Yes.
And just don't look back. And you'll see that when you take that leap and you think everything is going to be okay and you're positive, and you definitely have some savings behind it, because if you don't,
we do have some savings
you
behind
can't
us.
say, oh, this sounds wonderful, I'll just go tomorrow. Well, it doesn't work like that.
No, and quite frankly, if we walk into a house sit where people have misrepresented themselves and the house is junk and the dog wants to bite our hands off, we can say, I'm sorry, you've misrepresented yourself. We're turning around. And we've got enough money in our pocket to go to a hotel.
I am so glad he said that, because I read, not too long ago, this happened to some lady where they got to the house sit and the woman turned out to be a complete liar, and she wanted them to pay, and she basically wanted workers for free, and it was just a horrible thing. But unlike you, she couldn't walk away because she didn't have any funds to go and rent a hotel. Now you've got to, take a leap of faith, but please do it with your eyes open.
Yeah, you do. And it's a gamble. Yeah. But life is a gamble.
Exactly.
And my little problem with my heart realized that you've got to take the gamble. You can't just be sitting back retired. Us firefighters, we retire early. Yeah. All my buddies are still retired, but they're sitting back in Texas. And it's watching the yard grow.
Someday.
Yeah. Someday we'll do this, and someday we'll do that. and they talk about taking trips and maybe one week long trip somewhere, which we used to do. I mean, when you're working,
that's
you're lucky to get that.
Exactly. You get 1 or 2 weeks, and that's pretty much it.
Can you think of anything, Terry?
No.
It's great that you guys are showing people that it can be done.
Yeah.
You can do it, and you can do it if you do things in the normal order. And there is nothing to fear. You've done it for a year now, a full year. So it's not like you're saying, "Oh, we started last week," and you're still excited about the newness of it all. You've done it for a year now, and you've made the decision that you still want to keep on doing this because it's fantastic. So definitely, anybody thinking about this should definitely check out the websites. Once again, I'll name it. It's along the trail, along the gringotrail.com and travelingtheworldhousesitting.com.
Okay, you got them both wrong.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Traveltheworldhousesitting.com and alongthegringotrail.blogspot.com.
There you go. Well, you said them enough. They should have gotten it now. And I think you'll write it in the blog,
you
too.
Can never, you can never say it enough. So if you're listening to this, definitely check out those websites and, get your hints. And if it's something that might appeal to you, then, you have a great starting point for your future life. And also check out the interviews. So not only do I have this podcast, we'll have a little write-up of what the podcast consists of, and we'll have the website again listed on nextbiteoflife.com. So make sure you check that out, and we'll have their pictures up so you can see what they look like and say, "Yeah." So thank you guys so much for joining me today. It's been really a lot of fun, and I'm so glad you were able
Thanks
to
for having
tell
us.
us. Thank you. Say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.